So the Swift F7, is it any good? I think it is. The only problem is the airframe. It has a very strong engine. The acceleration is on par with the Hunter F6 actually on lower speeds. But the airframe does compress a little bit, and especially above 900, which is a threshold I try to not exceed too much. Because well, it turns into a massive brick. See it as a Hunter that you have to keep slow-ish. Like you don't want to go too slow of course, because you're still not that maneuverable. But you don't want to go too fast because you turn into a brick. The sweet spot to me is around 800, 850. Of course you can go higher speeds than that by climbing and stuff like that. But combat speeds, when you're trying to get shots off above 950, it's almost impossible to get lead on. And especially with Aidens and the bottom mounted, and my biggest gripe with them are that they're on the right cheek. Both of them are on the right cheek. You can see them right there for a brief moment. And it's very annoying to me because I like to shoot center mass, and when I do that I might overshoot to the right or I overshoot to the left, but then I just can't aim. But when I overshoot to the right a bit, it feels like if I had a second gun on the left side instead of two on the right, I actually would have gotten the kill. But it's something you just have to get used to. It's not too bad, but after 12,000 games, you know, central guns, not having asymmetric guns is kind of a given, or at least in your head it is. But other than that, this plane is quite fantastic. The climb rate is really good. The afterburner does make it quite powerful indeed for 8.7. But it suffers a bit of the same syndrome, as I just talked about, as the P38K. You get a bit of this problem where you go too fast for your own good, and you don't really know what to do with the speed. So you really want to like shed off some speed before you engage. And 9 out of 10 times that's not the best course of action, because you're in the jet. And you're in a jet that's not the most maneuverable. So what I end up doing a lot is trying to pitch up for people instead of boom and zooming them. Of course this game is not much of a representation of that, because I was above everyone for the majority of the game. But at this point I'm just trying to look for targets, and I try to go as much vertical as I can to shed off some speed, get a little bit of extra altitude, make them go a little bit slower by going up for me, which alleviates the problem of Aidens being rather slow. They only go 790 meters a second. To compare that, that's almost the same speed as the MG151s, which aren't the fastest to begin with. And you're fighting in jets over here. Of course they do hit very hard, but the other problem I have with them as well is that they lose speed rather quickly. And the dispersion isn't the best. Of course the fire rate does make up for that. So when you shoot quite a lot of shells, you kind of disperse a cloud of death towards people, which is quite helpful. But in general, I'm not much of a fan on the Aidens on this plane, because it compresses, so you don't really have the opportunity to pull lead. And when you don't have the opportunity to pull lead with slow guns, that is kind of a recipe for disaster. And now I will start commentating on the gameplay a little bit. We get the Saber, and you can see that I can barely pull into him. And I only shoot his wing off, so you know what that means. That Saber isn't dead. And he's actually going to be the biggest problem throughout this whole game to kill. The dead Saber. It's kind of ironic, isn't it? I almost lost the game because of the guy I killed first. How does that feel? It doesn't matter. I have plenty of speed to get away from him, especially after he defensive flew. And he had to do a little turn towards me as well. And he's just a Saber. Sabers don't have the best acceleration around the speeds he was at. So I can rather safely go up. And he doesn't have min fuel, as I figured out later on, which makes him even slower. See the A5 being rather slow, so I asked Hazy if he can go for him. He is in a Venom, he's trying to get RP for the Swift F7, and of course fighting Sabers in a Venom isn't the most fun thing to do, as a lot of you will know. I was hoping that the Dead Saber wouldn't pull in front of me there, so I could maybe finish him off. But instead he breaks off, so I'm guessing he's going to land. So he's out of the game for now. F-35 has no chance of catching me. I'm going quite fast. He's starting to spray. Not much of a problem, I'm not running him. And I'm just going to pull up here. If the F-35 thinks he can follow this, he is mistaken. Of course he can spray me down for a little bit, because he has 50 cals, and M350 cals go actually quite damn far. And that's a topic for another time, but I think that's a bit broken, as he can pretty much spray 1800 rounds from 1.3 kilometers. Of course, it might not kill me, but it's annoying and I have to dodge it. And eventually he might actually catch me because of it. Or he one-shots my engine. You all know how 50 cals work in this game. He pretended to break off, so I would turn around. I've like played along with it, so I turned around for a little bit and he instantly came back again. So now he's very slow and I'm gonna just start a spiral climb. I have very little chance that he's going to catch this. He's just an F35, we're at 6.5 kilometers. He's a bit lower than me. I'm gonna guess he's on 5.8. And sabers aren't the best up here, so I'm rather safe. So what I'm gonna do is just try to turn into him here. Drop my flaps for a little bit. And this is one of my earlier games in this plane, so I'm not too like used to the plane yet. And figures, he outturns me completely. But that's not a problem, I can just go up again. Which is exactly what I will do. F35, if he does the same as he has been doing all this time, he's gonna follow me. Looks like he wants to, but he's trying to fake the break off, so I come after him. So I'm gonna try to pitch down for him so he comes back up. And sadly for me, he's not having any of that. He's just gonna dive away, which is something you have to do in a Saber. You don't want to go low speed, don't fight. This thing will out energy you completely. The retention is really good because it doesn't turn too well. And the engine is very powerful indeed. So with that combination, so quickly it becomes that you are out of energy in a Saber. And when you're low on energy on a Saber, you can kiss your ass goodbye. The best chance you will have is try to stay on him, be faster. And when you're on him, you can always start a dogfight. And you will outturn him, you will get a shot before him. It's just if you're not quick enough, he will drain you of your speed and you're going to die. And you can see here the compression kicking in. It's very bad indeed. So I think for 8.7 this thing is actually kind of fair. Of course it shouldn't fight 7.7s. It could be 9.0, but this thing has no chance for the supersonics. And absolutely no chance. And that's the Swift F1 from the start that I crit. And Swifts in general, the F7 as well, are pretty strong. They're very durable. So what I advise you to do is make sure that they die. And you'll see that in a bit as well when I start to get on him. It's just a head on. Miss him. Just splice my rounds. It's not a problem. I have way more energy at this point because he's just an F1. He does turn a slight bit better, but it's not much of a problem. And it's the same with Sabers. Like whenever you can, I try to shoot a bit more than I need to. Just to finish them off, just so they don't, you know, only lose a wing and then start chasing you again. Like this guy, well, over there, he's chasing the A5 right now, that guy. It's annoying. And right now I'm not staying on the afterburner because I'm out diving him. I have way more energy than he does. And I actually want to stick on him. I want to lose as much speed as I can here. Of course without throttle dropping because I don't know what the other guys are and where they are. And you can see that I start spraying a little bit and I completely finished him off. I could have just gone for the one tap to spare my ammo. But there's two guys left and one is still quote unquote alive. So I wanted to spare my ammo, but at the same time I don't want to get a hit and then have to re-engage him. Because the more time I waste right now, the more vulnerable I will become. Because there's two people on the runway right now, or at least I believe so. So I'm gonna run to the airfield. They probably run min fuel. I don't want to get caught off guard by the dead Saber. So I'm just gonna rush the base for now. Might seem a bit scummy to you. Maybe this, but I load 20 minutes in this thing. Just so I can carry. And if you run min fuel, that's your own fault. We all start the game at the same time. And if you have to land before me, unless you're in a 163, that's the only one I will forgive. Or the C2B. I'm gonna strafe you. Period. I don't care. And even with 163s and C2Bs, then don't use your rocket fuel. It's, you know, the best tip I can give you on getting strafed is just make sure you don't have to land. And here you'll see the compression. I let off the web. I tried to pull, but I thought I had enough lead, but I didn't. And then I tried to pull a little bit more lead to get the shot in, but the plane wouldn't respond, as you could see. So I want to do a full on 90 degree up loop. I will bleed a lot of speed in that. Don't stay on the afterburner. I'm not going too fast right now. I don't know what he was doing. He was probably AFK. And now it's just a matter of killing the second guy. And that would be game. But there comes the Dead Saber, and he's actually gonna pose a massive threat. Massive problem I'm gonna have with him. Here he comes, try to dodge his guns last moment. I'm not too sure how much ammo he has, because he got 3 kills in an F2. Most of which when he was dead. Actually all of them when he was dead, so I can guess that he doesn't have all of his ammo. But of course I'm not gonna bet on it, because it's still an F2 and those guns hit very hard, they're very easy to use. So I don't want to go through his gun sight. I'm only going 500, he's not very fast either. And look at that, he can just pull up like it's nothing. Try to roll, because the roll is probably the most impaired thing on this plane right now. Drop my flaps for a bit, make this turn a little bit tighter and try to pull the F-35 up. But the F2 is setting himself up perfectly. So if I try to follow this, I'm gonna get hosed down by him. And it sounds a bit like a bitch tactic to run from a Dead Saber. But by now I think all of you know how annoying they are to fight. And I don't want to waste this whole game by getting killed by a guy that was my first kill. That's not my intention. So what I'm gonna do instead is, I'm gonna climb away. And he will catch me for a little bit. Because he's doing a lead pursuit. Or lag pursuit, I don't know what it's called. Where he goes straight and then pitches up. I think it's a lead. I'm not sure what it is in this scenario. I know when he's below me and he pulls up. But I think it's a lag right now. But it doesn't really matter. You see what he's doing. I'm just gonna extend away for now. Get my speed up a bit. Try to get like above 900, 950. And then I'm gonna start a climb. Because these sabers have no chance of catching it. And you can see right now that that F2 is not happening. He's not catching me anytime soon. So it's just a matter of climbing. Just climbing. Nothing else we have to do right now. I just want to get some altitude, because especially at altitude, the afterburner kicks in quite a lot more than it does at low altitude. Of course, relatively to the non-afterburner planes. And I know that the F-35 that's taking off, or what I took off, that's getting up to speed right now, was the one that actually chased me all the way up earlier this game. And because of that, I wanted to bring this fight into the vertical. Because I know he wants to come up here. I know he wants to spray me down. That he's already showed that he wants to do that. So I'm just gonna do exactly what he wants to do and go slow in his guns. Right now I'm not sure if that's the F2. I think it is. I think it's the dead one, and I'm not too sure what the F-35 is right now. Because I can't see his dot. And there he is. He's on the left of the F2. Or his right. And again, I'm not sure if you can actually see the dots because of the YouTube compression. But I hope you can. And I have to lay off the web now right now as well. Because, well, I'm overheating. So I want to get a little bit of a kickstart, a little bit of a dive, and then lay off the throttle, go up, and you see that the retention is still very good. And the moment I stop overheating, I will try the web again, because I really need all the performance I can get right now. And I'm not thinking about the long game anymore. I don't want to cool down the engine so I can have a prolonged fight. I want to end this as fast as I can. Go for the zero throttle in case he pitches up so I can actually pull into the shot. But I can't. And he tries to dive away, because he would have died if he tried to loop again with me. I should have done a line and he flies right into it. And that's game. And that's all there is for the F7 right now. I didn't get much interesting gameplay, mostly because it's such a straightforward plane. This is by far the most interesting gameplay I had. And I think the most, educational on the plane itself. I like this thing, although it's a bit restrictive. But I think it's actually going to be the best 8.7 right now. Of course, paired with the MiG-15 bis, but they both have their own strengths and weaknesses. So I call them a bit on par. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I sure enjoyed flying this thing. And I'll see you in the next one.